$285 million gone. Just like that. Drift Protocol, one of the biggest names in Solana DeFi, was hacked yesterday. And what happened next might be even worse than the hack itself, because while hundreds of millions of dollars were moving across chains, users were refreshing their wallets to check whether they'd lost everything. If you're not familiar with Drift, it's one of Solana's biggest perpetuals and trading protocols. People and entities use it for leverage, yield, vaults, borrowing, and on-chain trading. Because of that, a huge amount of user capital sits inside the protocol. So when users started spreading yesterday that something was wrong, the reaction was immediate. And since that point, major crypto news outlets have been covering the story. We can see here that MeTrade have reported Solana DEX protocol has suffered a 280 million plus attack and the governance token has dropped 25%. Meanwhile, CoinDesk also headlined Solana DeFi platform Drift confirms an active attack as 200 million leaves the platform. What's even more wild is since this occurred on 1st of April, notoriously known for April Fool's Day, the protocol himself had to put out a tweet literally suggesting this is not an April Fool's joke and proceed with caution until further notice. Unfortunately, a load of users still wasn't sure if this was an April Fool's joke and started making jokes about it. And since Solana and the community of which Drift is built upon typically can operate within this jovial sense, there was a genuine lack of uncertainty as to whether this was real or not. So I did a little bit of my own digging, utilized a tool called DeFi Llama, and as we can see here, there is a 520 million total value locked, which is what TVL stands for, and a little widget here, and then we can see 245 million total value locked. 50% of the TVL locked overnight gone. So what actually happened? Well, early reports suggested that over 200 million had been drained from Drift Protocol. That number later moved to between 270 and 285 million, depending on the source. The attacker appears to have compromised an admin key or a multisig signer. They've then used that access to create fake collateral. More specifically, they've reportedly created a fake token with the ticker CVT. They then manipulated the Oracle price feed and used that fake collateral to borrow real assets from the protocol. This was not someone finding a tiny bug. This was someone exploiting the trust assumptions of the system itself. The element that blew my mind really was the ability to manipulate the price Oracle feed. So I took it upon myself to understand exactly how they did that. Crypto Citizens Network breaks it down quite nicely for us. They explain, the exploit combined several weaknesses, a fake token, manipulated Oracle pricing and compromised an admin key. In the weeks leading up to the attack, the attacker created a token called Carbon Vote, or CVT, minting around 750 million units. They seeded a small liquidity pool, around $500 on Radium, and used wash trading to build a price history near $1. Over time, this artificial price was picked up by the oracles, marking the token appearing legitimate. On April 1st, the attacker used a compromised admin key to list CVT as a valid market on Drift. And then at the same time, they raised withdrawal limits to extreme limits, effectively removing safeguards that would normally restrict large outflows. The attacker then deposited hundreds of millions of CV tokens as collateral onto the protocol, and based on the manipulated Oracle price, this collateral appeared highly valuable. Using that inflated position, they executed 31 rapid withdrawals, draining real assets from the protocol, including tens of millions in USDC, JLP, and other tokens within 12 minutes. So where did all the money go? Well, once the attacker had access to the real assets, they started moving funds quickly. They were consolidated into a suspicious wallet, then swapped into assets like USDC, Sol, and Bitcoin. As we can see from this look on chain tweet here, where they identified Drift Protocol appearing to have been exploited with over 270 million in assets suspiciously transferred to this specific wallet starting HKG. And then they share a screenshot with some of the transactions which are occurring and a link to a protocol which allows us to visualize this even clearer. we can see approximately 285 million has entered this wallet from the source of Drift protocol in approximately 33 transactions, which is absolutely wild. The attacker then started to bridge from Solana to Ethereum, and reports suggest that they went on to buy 19.9k ETH after bridging funds across, as we can see from a later tweet from Look on Chain here. The Drift protocol exploiter is swapping the 270 million plus stolen assets into USDC and then bridging to Ethereum to buy ETH. This is where things started to get ugly. As the funds were moving, users were refreshing X, Discord, Telegram, trying to understand whether their money was safe. And the replies underneath Drift's posts were pretty brutal. Users complaining about many decentralized applications being hacked recently, users posing questions about where traders' money is, open positions, users complaining that it took 25 minutes for the protocol to freeze withdrawals, users suggesting that they should take down the profile messaging encouraging users to trade, the risks associated with yield, and the audits don't guarantee safety, describing things as a joke. And a couple of questions posed are, why did admin keys control everything? Who approved 2 of 5 multisig time locks? And honestly, those are really fair questions. And this is where the story becomes even more controversial. A huge amount of USDC was reportedly bridged from Solana to Ethereum using Circle's CCTP system. CCTP is effectively Circle's protocol, which allows users to natively bridge tokens from one chain to another, and effectively what they do is they burn the tokens on one side and mint them on the other. And people started asking, why weren't users' funds frozen faster? According to Zach XBT, who is a prominent on-chain Web3 based investigator, over 230 million in USDC moved across chain in less than 100 transactions. And he suggested Circle had around 6 hours to intervene. That led to a massive debate about whether stablecoin issuers should be faster to freeze stolen funds, especially when we're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars. It does beg the question, perhaps stronger protocols need to be in place on all sides to ensure it's not as easy to move such huge amounts of wealth without more thorough checks. To me, this hack is not just about Drift. It's about the trade-off that a lot of crypto projects still make between speed and security. Because one of the most viral screenshots going around after this exploit was an old tweet from Kyle Samani, founder of Multicoin, a prominent VC, suggesting, why does security have to be number one priority? I value speed more, to be honest. Here we can see Kyle Samani's tweet from July 21, why does security have to be number one priority? I value speed more, to be honest. This perhaps wouldn't be so controversial if Kyle Samani and Multicoin Capital were not the lead investor in, you guessed it, Drift protocol, as we can see from this Medium post suggesting Drift Labs raises 3.8 million in seed round funding, with the lead investor being Multicoin Capital. Now, to be fair, that tweet is old, and it is not proof that anyone caused this, but it does represent a mindset that has existed in crypto for years. Move fast, ship quickly, figure out the security later, and eventually that catches up with you. My honest take on this is one of the biggest DeFi hacks we've seen in a long time. Not just because of the size, but because of how simple the exploit path appears to have been. If the reports are accurate, this came down to compromised admin access, Oracle manipulation, and some trust assumptions that should never have existed in the first place. And when users see that, they don't just lose money, they lose trust. And trust is the one thing crypto still can't afford to lose. If you want more founder level analysis and breakdowns on breaking news, project failures, and where things really went wrong, like and subscribe, because most people only pay attention after the money is already gone.